If you're a writer, you live in a perilous world. There will always be that great and terrible monster waiting to slash aside your beloved thought child of a story. Publishing. But once achieved, you've done it. You've won, right? Not so fast. The unrelenting corporate world of our globalized economy necessitates attention to another, hungrier beast: marketing. That which seeks to undermine the creativity and originality of your story by limiting its potential in marketable categories, pressed into plastic tubes and spat out on the biggest mound of whatever kind of core is trending on BookTok this month, to appease the hungriest beast of all, the consumer. But what if I told you that the story of your dreams, the one you can't get out of your head, the one that keeps you up at night, the one that's got you pacing back and forth in your room and imagining fake scenarios like you're the protagonist, that one? Well, what if I told you that it doesn't need to cower in fear of the marketing beast, nor the consumer? Because you and your audience are not at odds. They want to read good stories. You want to write good stories. And I'm going to tell you how to bridge the gap. This is how to write for a target market in 4 steps. By the end, you'll know what you need to know. Now, before you even conceive of writing for someone else to read, to identify your target market, you have to come to terms with the target market you are most familiar with. You. Every writer is a reader, so interrogate yourself. What are the qualities of books you enjoy? What draws you to a certain genre? Is it the beauty of prose, a recurring trope, or the possibilities of new worlds? Make a list of what compels you as a reader. It can comprise anything as simple as a meet-cute trope to something as complex as climactic catharsis. The only thing that matters is that it matters to you. Take your time, think it through, pause the video, brush your teeth, wash your hands, drink more water. I'll be here. And once you have that list in mind, congratulations! You have successfully identified the target market of one individual. That's not very many, is it? But that's okay, because that individual is very important. Your taste is important, even if it's bad. Kidding, mostly. The thing is, your unique flavor profile, like with food, is informed by what you can buy. Say, the more you like pasta, the more you buy. And the more your taste in pasta variety evolves. Eventually, you'll take a stab at making pasta yourself. Now, it probably won't be as good as the best pasta you've ever had. In fact, I guarantee it won't. But with practice, it will become something you can be proud of. That is the cycle of internalization and externalization in which writers are, for better or worse, utterly bound. Your taste, at the end of the day, is not unique. The reason you're eating that type of pasta, reading that book, is because enough people enjoy the same thing as you. There's solace in that. There will always be a market for the things you read because you're not the only one who likes them. Identifying your taste profile first allows you to understand your place in the grand narrative of other writers. Hold on to that, because even though your homemade pasta isn't as good as others, it will never be exactly the same as a different batch. But when enough variety begins to show broad signs of similarity, we like to categorize, and thus the genre is born. To be blunt, genres are just advertising. They're not real indicators of any artistic or emotional truth your writing may possess. They're labels to sell your product because the consumer enjoys something else like it. If you're a fantasy reader like me, you'll know that the actual impact of the fantasy genre varies so drastically even among stories that are often spoken of in the same breath, like Lord of the Rings and The Song of Ice and Fire. Always remember that the idea of genre isn't enough to encapsulate the effect of your story. It's insufficient, and it always has been. So why do we keep adhering to it? Well, we like order. We love categorizing our interests and ourselves. Tell me you've never taken an online quiz or sorted yourself into a Harry Potter house. It's just how we like to play the game of consumerism. Even if your writing defies the conventions of a certain genre, there will always be a genre that can market it. You just have to determine what that is, and beyond that, what it means. The simple allotment is the easy part. Determine the focus of your writing. A murder mystery? Mystery. A happy romance? Romance. A not-so-happy romance? Romance. Is there magic? Fantasy. Too many explosions? Adventure. Now, here's the less easy part. Your genre isn't determined by your choice. It was already determined for you. Because every piece of writing you have read has influenced your writing. So, whatever you're writing, think about its influences. Remember the cycle of externalization and internalization I mentioned earlier? When a type of story, say a classic Regency romance like Pride and Prejudice, is externalized or pushed into the market and made popular by hungry readers enjoying what it has to offer, those same readers will internalize that model of story as something they admire. And some of those same readers will become writers and externalize a story that reads almost exactly like Pride and Prejudice, just a lot worse. The point is, don't do that. Externalize what you've internalized, yes, but do it in a way that reflects your individuality, not what other people like the most. Fitting into a genre isn't something you need to think about while writing, but there are a couple good things to keep in mind. Marketable stories within genres have clear short premises that reflect the genre conventions and attract new readers. Make sure you can summarize your story in a few sentences, in a way that captures whatever shines at its core. Another way to attract new readers is the classic, overused yet effective, this meets that. For example, Little House on the Prairie meets The Hunger Games, or Howl's Moving Castle meets The Call of Cthulhu. I don't know about you, but I would read those. The most important thing to have when entering the writing market is to know what has come before you. Without that knowledge, you're adrift. So study the writers you admire, and the ones you don't, to know where you fit in the grand consumerist scheme. Everyone has a place, because the audience isn't a monolith. Each audience is different, and don't you forget it. The trick to writing successful stories is setting up expectations and paying them off. Different groups of readers have different expectations, and as long as you acknowledge the expectations in certain genres, you can choose to honor or disrespect them for the sake of your story. Most importantly, demographics towards which you aim your readership are not to be ignored. The intended age of your audience defines every characteristic of your story. So before you even start writing, you should know who is meant to read it. Gender, location, and education level of your audience also factor into the equation. A 7-year-old horse-obsessed American girl isn't necessarily going to pick up an Oxford graduate's British adult mystery novel about 18th century political relations with Russia defined by naval cooperation. Or maybe she will. Who am I to say? Write with respect to your audience with adequate complexity of tone, vocabulary, and intensity that they are used to reading. This does not mean that you should dumb down the themes of a story for a younger audience or complexify them for an older one. Some of my favorite stories grapple with intense themes of loss and pain and are written for children. The key here is, as always, to study what has come before, and to isolate what is and isn't palatable for certain audiences within the conventions of your story's genre. Oh, and do research. It's a fact that women compose much more of the market for books than men. If you are a man, for instance, writing romance novels from a woman's perspective, first of all, good luck, you'll need it. Second of all, you must familiarize yourself not only with the conventions of the genre, but with the expectations and experiences of the characters and readers. Writing is often a matter of putting yourself in someone else's shoes, and understanding your audience is no different. If you seek to write a story from a different perspective than your own, doesn't matter what ethnicity, age, nationality, or gender, you must do research. I'm not telling you you can't, but you must be respectful and honor the truth in that perspective by learning how someone different from you lives their life. At its core, however, communicating through writing with an audience is not defined by their demographics, but rather by the intent and meaning of your words. So you've chosen to write a novel? Ask yourself, what is the reason behind it? Why are you writing it at all? Writing for a target market may sound dull, so I hope by this point in the video you realize that the only thing you are writing for should be yourself. There is a truth, some theme you want to communicate, that lies at the heart of your story. Once you've identified that message, be it an urgent truth about love or pain or nature, write and revise your story so that every element connects in some way to that message. This way, everything will feel cohesive and work together to communicate the purpose of your story. For those more analytically minded, who may be working with nonfiction or journalism, think of it as a thesis to prove. Any story is an argument in favor of something. So what's your argument? Your audience is on the receiving end of whatever you have to say. Your input is the output they receive, which is also to say that if you really work to refine the quality of your story and your message, it will come across. The target market doesn't have to be thought of purely economically. Rather, it can also be considered as a pool in which you pour your ideas to influence or inspire others. Although you should always be writing for yourself in some way, you are serving your audience a product that will be consumed for entertainment and engaged with passively and critically. It's important to keep that in mind. That essential balance of knowing the meaning of your own work and knowing the expectations of the audience and the genre comes with practice and research. I encourage you to write for yourself first, without paying any attention to the target market at all, because if your influences have a place in the market, so will you. Then comes the research. Then comes revision. Then the story of your dreams. You know, the one that you can't get out of your head, the one that keeps you up at night, the one that's got you pacing back and forth in your room and imagining fake scenarios like you're the protagonist. That one. Then it will be well on its way to reaching its target market. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful to you or another writer you know. I wish you the best in your writing journey going forward.